He is back. Of course, I'm talking about 24/7 Sports. Stephen Brooks, and boy, howdy, is there a lot to talk about. Let's just get right to it.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, if I can get the words out of my mouth. Thank you so much for kicking off your day with us here at Locked On Spartans, your first listen every single day, because we're talking about the green and white, the team that struggled on Saturday, and we are going to get into that with Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports in a hot second. But first, hey, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast or YouTube channel. Any way you're consuming this content, we do really appreciate it. And also, lockedonspartans@gmail.com is the place to find us. All right, hey. After the game on Saturday, Michigan State flew home, and they actually watched the replay of their own game that they lost on the flight home. However, that is not the worst travel experience back from Seattle anyone had, because I'm talking with the man who endured 6 flight delays on his way home, landed in Detroit at around 3:30, and drove through a driving thunderstorm on the way back to Lansing. And he's with us to join us today because he's simply the best. He's Stephen Brooks. Stephen, amazing to see you. How on earth are you doing? Happy Mel Monday, by the way, as you just got out of the press conference. So just wanted to share that as well.
Right. Yeah. No. Hey, thanks for having me again, as always. Happy to be back. Glad I made it. A little dicey there for a while on several fronts. Look, I know this is people's favorite is reporter travel grief, but my Sunday kind of played out like Michigan State Saturday. It was all 3 phases. It was Seattle to Vegas to Detroit. There was something in every spot. It was a complimentary meltdown, of my itinerary. So yeah, and then it was getting late in Vegas. I've been delayed 6 times, as you mentioned. And then the Raider fans started filing in from that game, and it started getting dark, literally and figuratively. And it was a bad scene. I was like, just get me home, please. I just want to go home so bad right now.
Oh, man, you're just starting to look up Greyhound bus tickets on the way from Vegas to Detroit. It should be able to get back by Thursday.
Honestly, I'm like, who can come pick me up in Chicago? Can I get another flight here? Like every possibility ran through my head.
Oh, man. Well, Stephen, we're glad you're here because we've got a lot to talk about. And even somehow, against all odds, even worse than your travel on the way back home. That's how the Spartans looked on Saturday. And before we get into the game, hey, just like I said, it is Mondays with Mel, his weekly press conference. The one takeaway I had is that he called himself a horse bleep coach. Okay, that's strong words for Mel. But anything that you have taken away from this press conference that you just got out of on Monday?
That was obviously the highlight for sure. I mean, sure. He got fired up a couple times. He was asked if the passing yardage that Michigan State allowed, with him coaching the corners now, does he take that any more personally? And he said, hell yeah, it does. And he talked about, his background and everything and just how you sort of have to, when he came to position coach and that never left him and everything. There were some other things just about that were semi-interesting, I think, about the film review. He said they watched the continuous copy where it just as it sounds, it's sequential from start to finish, That might sound crazy, but like a lot of these coaches, they're just watching very specific cut-ups, like just third downs or just their position group or this or that, very specific packages of film. It's not always just turn on the game and sit there until the game's over. But he said, at least for the first half, that's what they did today in a full team setting and, moved some things around in their schedule to do that. And I think it makes a lot of sense because, one of his things, complimentary football, like, that was an ideal example of how that's not supposed to look. Was what happened out there in Seattle when you had, great goal line stand from the defense. All right, offense, back us up. Oh, safety. Oh, well, okay, not great. Special teams. All right, well, come on, let's get this back. All right. Oh, kick out of bounds. Ball's on the 50-yard line, and Washington, is back in business. So there were a lot of moments in that first half, especially that epitomized, the lack of complementary football and the different phases not helping each other out. So totally understand why he did that. And I think that obviously speaks to, where their heads are and how they're trying to refocus and regather here.
Yeah, and I brought this up on yesterday's show, and if anyone listened to that as well, I apologize for saying this again. But like the game on Saturday didn't feel like the third game of the 2022 season. It just felt like the 15th game of last season. It was more of the same. Automatic yards through the air, just big back-breaking third down conversions. It was more of the same. But also from the press conference today too, just like you kind of alluded to, Mel Tucker said that we didn't have anything schematic that was the problem, which. Oh, sure, okay. And also said, quote, twice as many missed assignments in the first half as we did the second half. Look, when it's this bad, obviously some of it's on the players, some of it's on the coaches. But if it's been going on this long, like, how can you not blame the coaches and coaching staff right now? I'm not looking for you to, come on here and say, yeah, they should fire Scotty Hazelton. But, like, are like MSU fans like me in their rights to kind of look at one guy here, if not two guys, if you want to throw Mel Tucker in, understandably so at this point?
Sure. Real quick, I should have mentioned it to your last question. He did say that there, he suggested. I don't want to mix up his words or anything, but Mel Tucker strongly suggested that personnel changes are coming in the back end, in the secondary. That was something that was notable. I guess I probably should have mentioned that. And sort of to your point, that everything that we've been talking about, he called it rat trap. Not rat poison like Saban. I thought that's maybe where he was going, but it's a term called rat trap. And he says it's where, all week in practice, 2 + 2 = 4, was his example. 2 + 2 = 4 every single time and never changing. And then they went out in the game, and for some reason, 2 + 2 = 5 or 6 or God knows, Oklahoma. It didn't match up from what they were being taught and what they showed and executed in practice. And that part, I'm sure, as a coach, has to be frustrating. Anybody who's listening, who's done any type of coaching, especially at the youth level, I'm sure can relate to that. And rat trap is his word for that. And that correlates, too, to what he talked about after the game that I know we took a lot of grief for. And as soon as it left his mouth, I knew it was going to be received wrong. I knew what he was saying, and, we can get into that. But when he talked about inches, death by inches is a phrase he used a couple of times in Seattle. I mentioned it again today. And, of course, that harkens right back to Mark D'Antonio and some of the struggles later in his tenure, because that's a phrase he used a lot. That's what he's talking about, though. It's not. He didn't see an all-encompassing just meltdown, like it just across the board failures. He was saying that there was one guy here on this play, one bad technique on this play, one bad read on this play, and that's what you have. If you do one bad, one major thing goes wrong on 40 plays, then you're probably going to have 30 plus bad results. Maybe you luck out of it and the opposing team doesn't capitalize or whatever. But that's what he's saying there with the rat trap and then the inches. Like these all blend together here. And it's like I said, that's how he's defining it is like one bad technique here, one guy out of position here. Not that it was the same issue over and over and over, or just like I said, an across the board meltdown. So then what did you actually even ask me about, Scotty? Like, I did think that this was a poor job by MSU's coaches. I didn't understand the plan, and I didn't, from what I can tell, I'm much more. I don't pretend to be like the X's and O's master, or anything. I think I like to think I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not capable of sitting in those rooms with those guys and drawing up game plans, especially on defense. Is not my stronger hand compared to offense. But even I was just baffled by what looked like a lack of adjustments. It seemed like they just gave Penix the same looks over and over and over. And when I kept seeing the corners bailing out, and playing that cover 3 and just giving them the cushion, giving them the 5-yard throws, giving them the 8-yard throws, and all these things, giving them the flats, giving them the seams, that are weaknesses in that zone. It was confusing, And again, I'm no genius. No one's going to pay me $1 million to coordinate a defense, but. My gosh, I just kept saying, are you at least going to challenge these guys at the line of scrimmage? Try, because you're clearly not getting home against Penix. The pass rush was just negated. They want to get the ball out quickly. So what else can you do? You can jam the Jesus out of them at the line of scrimmage and hope that everything gets disrupted from there. Try not to let them make those easy timing throws and just throw off the rhythm at that point. If you can't get to Penix and shake him, which of course they wanted to do and tried to do, then try it on the outside, jam those guys and play a little more man. They had man in there. That's why Cal Halliday was all the way out on the sideline against that running back, caught the touchdown and whatnot. It's not that they didn't play any man, but man, it just didn't seem like they were switching up enough. And it seemed like they wanted to come in doing the same thing that they did to Michael Penix, or I'm sorry, to De'Aaron King last year, where it was just sit back, make him keep snapping it, make him keep throwing it. Eventually that mistake's going to come, and when it does, we're going to pounce on it. That's what they did at Miami last year, and it worked beautifully. But somebody who was around in 2019 should have said, hey, coach, Michael Penix isn't that guy. He's probably not going to do that, And so I did think it was a poor coaching job, to be quite honest. And the execution was bad too. I mean, there was a lot to be unhappy with. But yeah, I'm with the people that are very confused about the plan and the approach, no doubt.
Okay, I'm not going to yell, and not because I'm a rational adult, but no, it's because my kid's napping in the other room, and I don't want him to hear
That's
another
the only reason. Yeah.
daddy meltdown from this weekend for the 15th time. But yeah, dude, I'm losing my mind over the pressure. Like, hey, for the 4-man rush, not getting home, let's try to mix in a blitz or something like that. Or just like you said, maybe press coverage, let the receivers work to get 8 yards downfield to begin with. But it was just, it's insanity. It was trying the same thing over and over again, which was not pressuring Penix at all. And then that's why he just sat there and diced you up. I mean, it was not good. And okay, you know what? We're actually going to get into an ad read here before I really start yelling. I'm just going to distract myself from this. But yeah, you've said it brilliantly. Talked a lot about it yesterday. And we're going to try to flip a page here. I want to start next segment with the other side of the ball. But first, Steven, I just got to say bye to you really quick. I'm so sorry. But hey, we have to talk about Upside, gang. That's right. From cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts. And my goodness, does it really hurt. That's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. To get started, download the free Upside app, use my promo code LOCKED, and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's simple. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. Hit check in at the business, pay as usual, and with a credit card or debit card, hey, just pay it and you get the rewards. In comparison to a credit card rewards or loyalty program, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week, and that's why they probably have a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. That's pretty high. Download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Again, that's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED. And as we welcome back the wonderful Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports. Hey, just want to thank you all for making Locked On Spartans your first listen or watch every single day. A lot of defensive talk, no doubt about it. We don't have to get into it anymore. For now, we will get back to it. But right now, Stephen, I think the majority of MSU fans were pleased with Payton Thorne's performance on Saturday. Perfect game? Okay. No, absolutely not. That interception kind of close to Washington's end zone, not ideal. But overall, loved what I saw. But there is a vocal minority that was not thrilled with how he played. Am I taking crazy pills? I thought Thorne did as good as you could in that tough environment, especially under tough circumstances when your defense is almost kicking off the game, having you down 2 possessions right off the bat. How did you like his game on Saturday? Please set the record.
I thought he bounced back in a big way. And
okay,
as you said, I mean, the grittiness, though, that's what stands out to me. And, whatever, you can make of that what you will. But I thought he played tough out there. Mm-hmm. Payton Thorne, Keon Coleman, Daniel Barker, 3 dudes who just kept playing. They kept playing regardless of the score. They gave them, snowball's chance in hell, at the end there to actually make something happen. I think I just misused that phrase, but those 3 guys kept playing until the end and gave you some faith. Yeah, you knew what I was saying. But yeah, and Payton Thorne was getting beat up. He took some big hits. He was running, just putting the offense on his shoulders, carrying it a couple of times, took some big hits, got up. I mean, I like sort of the warrior elements he displayed out there. And, it wasn't the greatest game from him. There was one pass, I think it might have been to Barker. It was like a post route up the seam. Whoever it was, the receiver was wide open. And watching it live up there, I thought it got tipped. And it just skipped 4 or 5 yards away from the guy's feet. And I don't believe, when I looked up at the TV, I don't think it got tipped or anything. So that one was weird. But, I did like the fight, the heart, the grittiness that he showed, the toughness, is probably really the word I should have went with immediately. I like that. And look, it wasn't perfect. Not everything's cured, I don't think, but that's definitely the response you want to see from him, at least. Elsewhere, some problem.
Yikes. Well, speaking of, some problems here. Let's talk about the guys in front of Payton Thorne. The offensive line. Look, hey, first 2 games of the season did fine. Again, against Western and then against Akron. But hey, first big test against Washington. I don't think that a lot of people will give him a passing grade here. Just 1.4 yards on the ground in the running game. And then, yeah, hey, Thorne was just sacked twice, but yeah, was he getting hit? Yeah, was he running? He maybe logged 7.5 miles on the field. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like horrible, 10 being like, oh yeah, we got 5 future all pros on our line. How should MSU fans be feeling about the offensive line after the first big test this season, in your opinion?
I mean, just based on that one, I mean, that was abysmal across the board.
That bad?
Okay. I don't think, Washington's good, but I don't think they're
That's
a dominant front or anything like that. Yeah, that looked like that was on par with the worst of the D'Antonio, the late stage D'Antonio teams, 2018, 2019, 2017, whenever pick your low point there. And that was right on par with that. I'm not saying it can't get better, but just based on what we've seen with that being the Power 5 team, and I don't think Washington is this dominant run defense necessarily. That was highly, highly concerning. And now you're talking about the biggest. I wrote something on this, the biggest question mark we had on both sides of the ball. You can go back and listen to me. I'm sure I said it on your podcast. I do a show with Jack Ebling every week. I've been on other things. Like I've been saying since that Peach Bowl, this offensive line is a major question mark. And at their best, I thought they could be as good as they were last year. At their best, all cylinders firing. So think about what their average might be and think about what a bad day might be. And we saw a bad day there. I think the backs are solid. I think Jarek Broussard was in outer space kind of for most of that game. He didn't seem to be in the right frame of mind. But Jalen Berger, I think has proven some things, has looked pretty good this year. I'm not worried about that position, but they got no help. They were helpless. They were helpless out there. There was nothing that those running backs were going to be able to do with that blocking. I mean, it was snap, boom, plays over like right away. No running lanes. Guys in the backfield, offensive linemen getting pushed into the ball carrier, into the backfield. It was not good. And as you said, the 2 sacks don't tell the story at all. Payton was under duress quite a bit throughout that one, and it's troubling. Let me tell you this: Kent State. I don't actually just close the things before I got on here with you, but Kent State ran for like 140 yards on that team. Kent State of the MAC. And they're a solid. They're a pretty good MAC team. I'll give them that even. How about this though? The next week, Portland State FCS program hasn't had a winning record. Finished with a winning season since 2015. Doubled Michigan State's rushing output. And look, you can say the early deficit and this and that. They went away from it a little bit, but they never had anything going, even before the deficit got out going. You know, and they're never going to completely go away from it. I heard a lot of people saying, why is Jay Johnson calling runs? Like, have you not watched this program for the last 2 years? Like, they're never going to go away from it completely, and you can't. They're not built to, first of all, just go Mike Leach on them and throw it 60 times. They're not built to do that. They're not comfortable doing that. And it's just not – you cannot just completely abandon the run in any really offensive system that's, outside of that air raid type of stuff. You have to at least sprinkle it in to keep things interesting. Even if you're going to get stuff for no gain, you have to keep sprinkling those in, or else you're putting yourself, really behind the 8 ball. So I don't know what people really thought there. You cannot just abandon, can't go into the second half and say, guys, we're not going to run it once here. We're just going to air it out. And it seemed like everybody in my Twitter mentions wanted that. And I'm like, no, you just can't do that. So, but yeah, to bring it home, the offensive line is, until proven otherwise, a major, probably, potentially, I guess I'll say, crippling concern, because I don't see them being able to, it's got to be much better than that to have a shot against anybody decent in the Big Ten. It's got to be much better. Yeah. In what they did Saturday, I mean, even pick whoever you think's worst team in the Big Ten. I don't know if that'll get it done against them. So there's it's a tough deal, and it's, like I said, it validated all of our preseason concerns, which I think is disheartening. On the offensive line and on the defense with the secondary, the two main things everybody was worried about showed up as major warts in this game.
Okay, well, that went even worse than I ever thought it could, because usually, hey, I'll say something, maybe it's a little overreactionary, maybe it's a little too passionate, emotional, if you will, and then you always kind of bring me back down to earth. I didn't think the offensive line played good, but wow, to hear you say it's a 1 out of 10 jarring and that it wouldn't work against, we'll call them Northwestern for the worst Big Ten team, whatever, Nebraska, if you will. Oh boy, but you know what? Hey, you don't sugarcoat things, you shoot us straight, and you're not a hot take artist. It's truly what you mean, and you are a master of grading kind of the trenches, the big boys on the offensive line. Like that's kind of your bread and butter, isn't it? You're a big offensive line guy, if I remember correctly.
You've got to be, I think, but you learn so much about a team. They tell you so much, and it's just, I guess I don't set out to be, but think about when I started covering this team again, Matt, 2018. And that rash of injuries, every week, every series was a new 5 out there for this and that reason. I've just seen so much bad offensive line play. And, last year there was a guy who was able to cover up for some of those mistakes. And basically every other season there really hasn't been, and it's affected this program. So they're a long way off from being where they need to be at that position. And it's the hardest position to sort of regrow and redevelop, your depth and everything. You can't just sprinkle some water and overnight you have something. So I guess I think it's partly a product of just of my job. I just think that they've underwhelmed up front for quite a while now.
And you've seen some things too. So there's no wonder why your opinion's so respected, especially when it comes to offensive line play. Because you've weathered a few storms here, not just on your flights home from Seattle, but watching the trenches here in East Lansing here. Steven, I got some overreactions that I want to bounce off you in the next 7. We're going to start with what's going to go on this Saturday, actually. But first, I just have to say goodbye to you one more time. It pains me to do so, but it brings me joy to talk about the fine folks at Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group. That's right. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists. With decades of experience in Corn Belt agriculture, no one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange, expanding your operation, or selling a row crop farm, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you to ensure the deal is done right. And great service is just the beginning. Acre Pro provides unparalleled land data, including soil ratings, elevation, flood zones, and land valuations across parcels so that you can get the full picture up front and be confident in the entire land market. Your agent will cater to each of your individual needs and help you navigate the complexities of buying and selling land so that the process is made simple. Experience the ease of Acre Pro by working with farmland specialists like Kyle Rule, Brady Hammond, Neil Hurt, and Kyle Spray. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-587-3185 and talk to your local land expert today. Again, 765-587-3185. Acre Pro, Midwest Farm Group. And as we welcome back Stephen Brooks for one final segment here on today's show. Hey, thanks again for making us your first watch or listen. Now, Stephen, big game Saturday. It's against Minnesota. Depending on what time of the day you look at a sports book, MSU is either a 1-point over or 1-point underdog or 1-point favorite. It's going to be a close game in the eyes of Vegas. So with that said, everything that we saw, bad offensive line play, the defense, it's a home game against Minnesota, a team that's played 3 high school teams so far. Overreaction or proper reaction, Steven? Is this a must-win game Saturday for Michigan State? I mean, because I kind of think it is. It might be. I know. A loaded question. It really is a loaded question. I mean, oddly enough, it's not a black and white answer, but I mean,
right.
If not for nothing, for the fan base, you need to win this game. You need to win the game for the fan base, at least.
Right. Yeah. For the vibes and everything, and then everyone's emotional state.
Yeah.
That's tough. I don't know about must win. Like, I'm always very, very cautious about those. And then going out to Maryland next week, I might go there. I might say that is if they lose to Minnesota, then going out to Maryland and as an East opponent, maybe that is. But I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say. I'm leaning no. Very big game, very important game.
Sure.
But like must win for this or that reason. It's too early for me to say that, especially in them being a West team. They're a good team. I picked them to win the West. So, and Ibrahim's a big part of that, just bringing that physical element. They have an offensive line, especially a really good center that's going to come in and try to be what Michigan State wants to be. Michigan State's still defending the run really well. It's one thing they haven't really given up much at all. So I still think that'll be a nice thing for them. But Tanner Morgan's a 6-year quarterback. Say what you will about him, but dude's a veteran who's played a lot of football and is going to see some things, I'm sure, that he can take advantage of in the back end. On the flip side, they just lost their top receiver today. I don't have the guy's full name in front of me. Some Alt Bell, I want to say.
Autumn something Bell. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Number 1 receiver for them is out for the year. So obviously that's going to be a plus for Michigan State with them kind of reeling right now. But I mean, must win. I wouldn't go that far, but
Okay.
Got to see this offensive line bounce back if they're capable. But I wouldn't. Yeah, after last week, I got to see it.
Yeah, and like the reason I'm in must-win mode is okay. Well, first and foremost, you guys know me. I can get a little jumpy here on this side of the microphone, but also like it is what happens after the Minnesota game. If you can't beat Minnesota at Spartan Stadium, okay, we're going to hit the road to College Park to play Maryland, a team that likes to throw the ball all over the yard. And then, it's just Ohio State after that, and then Wisconsin after that. So, like, that's where I start to get a little worried is who's on that back end. And also, if Minnesota does win, okay, that either means one of two things on offense happen for the Gophers is that Ibrahim did a really good job at running the ball, and now, oh my God, now we're starting to feel not great about the run defense, but also Steven, Tanner Morgan hasn't thrown for north of 300 yards since week 10 of the 2019 season. If you let Tanner Morgan, without his best receiver now, throw the ball all over the yard at Spartan Stadium, it's about to be DEFCON 1 over here. It's not going to be pretty. So that is why I'm in must-win now mode. It is week 4. I fully understand that. And maybe I'm being a little overreactionary, but like I think I can be a little justified, maybe, but hey, you're
making sense. You're making sense because I guess I didn't consider that. What you're looking at of the snowball effect. You go to Maryland, right. As I said, it's going to be a tough one. But then, if you're 1-1 in these next two, or 0-2, obviously, like then rolling into October that's dicey. And things could get real uncomfortable there. So yeah, I think a lot of folks are recalibrating expectations right now based on what we've seen, and I think that is fair. I picked them to go 8-4, so I don't have to do a ton of resetting yet. I know there's some people out there saying they're going to go win 10 or 11 this year, and then they got some things to fix if that's going to happen. I guess it's not totally out of the picture, but just based on that evidence against their first legitimate competition they played all year, there's some real pressing issues I think going on.
No doubt. And hey, the opposite of a pressing issue here, and this is what we'll end the show on. Hey, I'm going to hit people with the left hook of bad news, talking about it's a must-win game Saturday, but also, hey, let's talk about this right now. Overreaction or proper reaction, Steven? Keon Coleman, day 1 draft pick in the future? Let's talk about it. Let's speak it into existence. First of many 100-plus receiving yard game on Saturday, and just looked like the guy in stepping in for, obviously, Jaden Reed, who's out. Keon Coleman, day 1 guy, and if so, are we talking top 10, or is he just 1-1, the first overall guy? Talk to me, Steven.
You're tempting me here. I have to go overreaction for now.
Oh.
Ask me again at the end of the year, though, or something. Look,
okay.
I'm all aboard this. I've been at the front of the line on the Keon train.
You have.
I do think this was a very promising thing for him. I mean, he was. I mentioned him, Thorne, and Barker earlier. He's at the top of that list, though, in terms of just dudes who just kept competing, kept playing, kept trying, kept going hard, and he was their only real option. Early on, Barker got involved a little bit more late, but early on, he was the only one able to get them out of a rut there, and that's what you want to see, especially when Jaden Reed, you're most proven. I don't even know if we can say best, and for now we can still say that, but your top playmaking receiver is out, and it's like, all right, well, we need somebody to make a play, and sure enough, Keon showed up time after time and made plays, moved the ball. Obviously, the touchdown early, when they really needed it, coming back for the ball there. Then goes and gets the 2-point conversion, catches another one later and gets a 2-point conversion there. He kept playing. Day 1 tools, day 1 measurables, all that. And this was a step toward becoming that day 1 pick, I think, for sure. I think this is a game that we'll look back on and say there was an important moment in his development. Again, he was the guy who had to be the guy, and he was for the most part. I'm not going to put all the offensive struggles on him, obviously. There was a lot going on there, but when they turned to him, he showed up for the most part on the road in a tough environment like that. And that place got loud. It was not packed to the brim I think it would have been nice to see, but it got loud. Those overhangs on each side really trapped the noise very well there. But yeah, the dude is coming into his own. This was an important step, I think. In that last third or fourth down, whatever it was, they threw it to him on the sideline at the end of the game. He walked right off and slammed his helmet down the field. And I love to see that. The guy was out there competing. The game was over, but the guy was out there trying his tail off. He was competing all the way through. And for as much as you can, marvel at his just physical traits and everything, the measurables, the leaping, the speed and strength and all of that, I hear time and time again, this guy's one of the hardest workers they have. And I wouldn't come out here and tout that or anything, if it was just propaganda, but I hear it from players, from coaches, from multiple angles consistently that the guy works to be great. So when you match that natural talent with that care factor and compete level, you know, that he showed out there. And I think him slamming the helmet, like I thought it was a good sign for him. Like the dude cares. And so, you know, I think the sky's the limit for him. Absolutely. Day one pick in the cards one day probably, but I just can't go there yet.
That's fair. That's fair. But hey, at the end of the day, we're ending this show on a high note. Keon Coleman has that dog in him, certified by Dr. Stephen Brooks over here. That's what I'm talking about, man. Stephen, as always, appreciate your generosity, your knowledge, and more importantly, your time, as you're probably jet lagged as all hell. But hey, man, you're the best. I love you. The people love you especially. So thank you once again for joining us here on Monday's show if you're watching on YouTube, Tuesday if you're listening on the podcast. So you're the man, Stephen.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys next week.
You got it. All right, guys. Hey, you already know we're going to be back tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after that. Keep it tuned here, Locked On Spartans. Enjoy the rest of your week. Love you all. Go Green.